Coming up on Business Incorporated. South Africa's Business Confidence Index increased to 46 points in the first quarter of 2022. Egypt's inflation hits higher since mid-2019 as food prices soar. World Bank says Middle East and North African economies worst hit by Ukraine war. Great to have you join us on Business Incorporated. I'm Ladi Williams. First off, let's take a look at how the markets are looking at intraday. We'll begin with the African continent, where sentiment is mixed. Nigeria's main index was up 0.14%, continuing yesterday's bullish close. While South Africa's GSE index was also up over 1%. On the opposite side, Egypt's benchmark index dipped 0.33%, while Kenya closed Wednesday's session negative, down over 1%. And over to the Middle East, where major indexes traded mostly in positive territory. The Abu Dhabi main index was up 1.09%, while Dubai's index was also up by 0.14%. Elsewhere in the region, Saudi Arabia's main index was the lone downer, shedding over 0.5%, while the Qatari exchange traded in positive territory, though marginally up 0.03% at intraday. And major European brands have been following the likes of Starbucks, Coca-Cola, and suspending operations in Russia. Let's see which European brands are following. We have Rob Watts right there in Berlin to tell us more. Great to have you, Rob. So which European brands are joining the exodus from Russia?
Well, it's a list that is getting longer and longer. The latest names to add to that list are major beer brands, Heineken from the Netherlands and Carlsberg, which is based in Denmark. Those are the world's second and fourth biggest beer brands, respectively. Heineken is stopping producing and advertising and selling the beer that is called Heineken in Russia. It does also produce two Russian brands of beer in Russia, where it employs 1,800 people, but it says it's going to no longer accept any net financial benefit derived from its Russian operations. Meanwhile, Carlsberg is also halting production and sales in Russia. However, its Russian subsidiary, Baltica Breweries, whose beers are enormously popular there, will continue to produce its beers. Carlsberg says that's to protect its over 8,000 employees in Russia, who it says are not responsible for the actions of the government there. But it isn't just European beer that's not flowing into Russia anymore. From Germany alone, carmaker Mercedes-Benz is among those that's discontinuing business there. So too is the maintenance arm of Germany's biggest airline, Lufthansa. It's got contracts to maintain some 400 Russian aeroplanes. So that is yet another big blow to Russia's airlines. Away from Germany, also Italian luxury car maker Ferrari says it won't be delivering any more cars to Russia, although, to be honest, it only sells around 100 cars there each year anyway. European cigarette brands and a Swiss chocolate maker Lindt are also on that list of companies that are stopping sales in Russia.
Quite interesting, from chocolate to luxury brands. European banks are also clearly concerned about their operations in Russia. How are they preparing for the war's impact?
Well, the Italian bank UniCredit and French bank BNP Paribas are the latest to set out their exposures to Russia and the potential for them facing billions of euros in costs from the financial fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Remember that the European Union and its allies have imposed tough sanctions on Russia's financial sector. They've also frozen the foreign bank accounts of Russian oligarchs, and the Russian economy in general is taking a hit, with concern that Russia is actually on the verge of defaulting on its debts as well. UniCredit says a full write-off of its Russian business could cost it around 7.4 billion euros. That's over $8 billion. Meanwhile, BNP Paribas says its exposure amounts to around 3 billion euros in Russia and Ukraine. Actually, the French bank has also become the first to take the unusual step of isolating its Russia-based workforce from its internal computer system. The aim of that is to protect the core business from any possible cyber attacks on its Russian business. That's according to Reuters. But overall, Western allies' choice of attacking Russia through its financial sector is having an impact on Europe's own banks, that's for sure.
Right. And how's Thursday looking on in the European markets?
Well, Wednesday saw massive gains on European markets. Germany's DAX index rose 7.9%, and the CAC 40 in France was up 7.1% at the end of the day. They've been responding to a faint glimmer of optimism ahead of a meeting of the foreign ministers of Russia and Ukraine. There's at least some hope, clearly, of a diplomatic end to the fighting, even if the Russians do say that their expectations of the meeting are low. Oil prices also eased on Wednesday, and that all combined to help the struggling euro, which posted its steepest daily jump in nearly 6 years. It rose by 1.6% against the dollar, having hit its lowest point, you may remember, in nearly 2 years earlier this week. Now, key to Thursday trading in Europe is going to be a meeting of the European Central Bank, which obviously oversees the euro. Investors are waiting to see how the ECB approaches the challenge that it's now facing, which is tackling inflation, which is now at 5.8%. That's way above the 2% target. And at the same time, guiding the Eurozone economy through the challenges caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So all eyes on the ECB.
All eyes on the ECB. All right, Robert, thank you so much for the update. All right, moving on now. More sanctions rolling from Russia and the Russian oligarchs. Let's hear from Juliana now how it's going in the UK there. Great to have you, Juliana. So you talked to Ini on Business Morning about Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich being the latest Russian, to be sanctioned by the UK government. How's this news being digested there? How are the Chelsea fans reacting?
Good afternoon, Laddie. Well, this is a major development. Earlier this morning, 7 wealthy Russians linked to Putin, known as oligarchs, received sanctions from the British government. And the most notable name on the list is Roman Abramovich, who is the owner of Chelsea Football Club. This has massive ramifications for the team because, of course, what it means, because he is the owner, he has been trying to sell it very swiftly over the past few days without success. But because he is Russian and he owns a club, that means no more tickets can be sold for Chelsea matches. In fact, there are so many Chelsea stores up and down this country. They have all had to close. We're not sure how this is going to affect further games, but we do know that at this time, players and staff will still be paid. Now, this is really controversial because, of course, Roman Abramovich, whatever your feelings, is a very much loved captain or coach or owner in the UK. He has been here for nearly 20 years. He bought the football club back in 2003, I believe, for about £185 million. He is actually worth £9 billion. This sanction also means that no British individual can do business with him. Of course, he has a huge retail real estate property portfolio here in the UK. That is going to be frozen. So yes, this is a developing story, but clearly significant. There were calls from the opposition Labour Party to Prime Minister Boris Johnson over the past couple of weeks, asking why Roman Abramovich had not yet received sanctions. Boris Johnson pretty clear that this was a fight against Putin and not the Russian individuals. But clearly some information has come to light over the past few hours. It is going to be very, very difficult for Chelsea to maintain its super club global status. You can imagine now the kind of row that's taking place on Twitter, but clearly a significant development. Just for some context, before Roman Abramovich was known as this significant powerhouse in the football world, he he allegedly had very close links to Putin. Not many people will know that he was once a mayor, I believe, of a very small district in a small town outside the capital, Moscow. And this was during Putin's very early years in politics. Perhaps that's where the relationship was formed. Abramovich has always denied having this close relationship with him. He also did say a couple of weeks ago that he was trying his best to broker some sort of peace talks. And then he did say once he is able to sell Chelsea Football Club, all of the proceeds from that sale will go to a Ukrainian charity. Well, alas, that's been taken completely out of his hands now. Big question a lot of people are asking on social media is, does this mean the British government own Chelsea? This is a developing story, but in terms of tabloid press, this is absolutely huge.
Quite huge. Well, we'll keep tracking to see how that story goes. But UK businesses have called on the government to provide, urgent support to firms, consumers as global energy prices surge. What's the government saying at this point?
Nothing yet. We haven't heard yet from Chancellor Rishi Sunak, although, of course, there are growing calls for the Chancellor and the Treasury to try and put together some sort of support packages during his spring budget, which he is due to announce in a couple of weeks, or we hope so, because, of course, this situation on the ground in Ukraine is so developing, and Britain is such a key actor. It's not the typical work mode in Whitehall at the moment, but we've seen really the significant impact of the price of fuel. Now, diesel is the key component here, because that is what fuels HGV lorries which take food and goods up and down the country. At one point yesterday, it was over £1.64 a litre. That is record highs. And we have seen the price of a barrel of Brent crude kind of dip from the highs, the 14-year highs we saw on Monday of over $144 a barrel, to about $111, but there are some suggestions, if things do continue going the way they do and Russian oil exports are banned, then it could be over $240 a barrel, which we don't even want to even fathom what that could mean, not just for us in the UK, but everyone around the world. So it's pretty significant. We are waiting an update from Chancellor Rishi Sunak about the support packages, yet again, because in a couple of weeks we have our own domestic economic issues, which are a rise in national insurance tax and, of course, this significant 50% rise in the amount of money people are going to pay in their energy bills. Pretty shocking.
Right. So many issues at this point. But markets, had a breather yesterday. How's it looking at intraday?
Yeah, we're not doing as good as our European counterparts in the square mile today. I think investors were crossing their fingers, hoping that this last round of peace talks would lead to something. It hasn't. We just heard from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, who's speaking in Antalya in Turkey. No significant peace comments were made there. So, alas, the FTSE's in the red. At intraday, the all-share is down 0.90%. The FTSE 100 is down by 0.89%, and the FTSE 250, that domestic market, is down by 0.64%. In the currencies market, the British pound is currently trading down against the US dollar by 0.26%, though the pound is up against the euro by 0.09%, and down against the Japanese yen at intraday by 0.19%, Laddie.
All right, Juliana, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you, Laddie.
All right, so South Africa's business confidence index increased to 46 points in the first quarter of 2022 after remaining unchanged at 43 in the fourth quarter of 2021. And that's according to Rand Merchant Bank's Business Economic Research. It means that business confidence this quarter reached its highest level since the second quarter of 2021 before the July civil unrest, though this is below the neutral 50 mark reached in the second half of last year. The latest reading is regarded as encouraging. The three sectors that showed an increase are new vehicle sales, manufacturing and wholesale confidence by non-consumer goods such as machinery and chemicals, while retailers of non-durable goods saw the biggest deterioration in confidence as sales subsided alongside rising food price inflation. All right, so after the break, commodities market update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Incorporated. Welcome back to some company news now. Africa's largest mobile operator, MTN, has restored its dividend for the year to end December, and it's also alerted shareholders they should expect a growth in 2022 dividends on the back of aggressive cost-cutting, driving growing demand for both data and digital services. The group said on Wednesday that the COVID-19 pandemic had proved beneficial for cashless payments, with MTN service revenue growing by 18.3%, while headline earnings rose 32%. Data revenue expanded by 36.5% due to a 53.3% increase in data usage. All right, to commodities now. Alongside other base metals, nickel has continued its rally in 2022. The price increased by 18.1% to $24,661 per metric ton in February. However, in the last 3 days, nickel futures skyrocketed by 200% to reach over $100,000 per metric ton on Tuesday. Well, we have Favor Ogunraye now, analyst, financial derivatives company, join us. Great to have you, Favor.
Thank you for having me.
So the price overdrive forced the London Metal Exchange to cancel and suspend nickel trades last Friday. How important is this metal?
Seeing that, just like you said, nickel futures went as high as over 200% in less than, 5 days. And that prompted the London Metal Exchange to actually suspend trades. So, one would be quite inquisitive about, what the metal is all about. So the thing is, nickel is the 70% of the global supply of the commodity actually goes to stainless steel production. And that comes with some advantages, such as increase in toughness, increase in sustainability, and also the ability to actually withstand, higher temperatures. But then aside that, we're also seeing that the battery market has actually increased their share of nickel demand, because the commodity is actually a crucial component used to make electric vehicle batteries, and that will help them deliver batteries with higher energy density and a greater storage capacity at a lower cost. So that way, the electric vehicles can actually move at a long distance, at just a single charge. So all of that demand in those industries actually fueling the demand for nickel. So that's why we are seeing the prices going as high as that.
Right, quite interesting. But what's your outlook for the price? Because that's an incredible surge we've seen there. What's the price outlook in the short term?
So looking at that surge, it was actually due to one of the world's largest producers who, some of these commodity companies actually go into, future contracts in order to lock in price, especially when they anticipate that this price is going to fall. But then the opposite happened, where we are seeing the price of nickel actually increasing. So what happened now is that they're trying to kind of close their position, and they're losing all these contracts that they've recorded losses in. They're trying to buy it back, and that's what's pushing the price. So considering that, that will not obviously not happen, only happen for a short term, and also considering that what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, we expect that this price volatility will actually happen in short term, then before going back to their normal levels in the long term.
All right, we'll keep watching how it plays out. But it's been estimated that nickel stockpiles may be exhausted by 2023. What are the implications of this?
Well, that means, considering that inventory levels are declining, that means there's a supply problem. So for auto industry, where batteries account for about 19% of electric vehicle costs, that will mean higher production costs. And you also have to consider there is still a continued semiconductor shortage that is ongoing. So we have higher production costs. There could be a delay in the rollout of electric vehicles. And that could also even further fuel inflation. But then it has been reported that, a lot of investment is currently being channeled into the conversion of low-grade ores into electric batteries, which have a combined grade of nickel and cobalt. So I think in the long term, that can address the supply issue, and even, it's just another source of nickel, pretty much.
All right, how does Nigeria play into nickel production?
Currently, the only instance of nickel in Nigeria is actually at Kaduna State, but then it's not at a commercial scale yet. And I suppose it's actually due to the topographical factors because, this commodity is actually popular in other African countries such as South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, and even Tanzania. So I think what Nigeria can do instead is, take advantage of the AFTA to actually gain access to these large deposits in these African countries so that they can meet the demand of our own stainless steel demand here and also produce other products that can maybe earn us foreign exchange. So I guess that's what Nigeria can do.
All right, I guess we're not the largest producers of that. All right, Favor, thank you so much. Favor, analyst, financial derivatives company. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so our consumer prices in urban parts of Egypt accelerated to their highest level since mid-2019 as food costs soared. Annual inflation was 8.8% in February versus 7.3% the previous month. The state-run statistics agency CAPMA says the rise was the most since June 2019 and is led by a 7.6% increase in food and beverage prices. On a monthly basis, consumer prices rose 1.6% in February. And several economies of the Middle East and North Africa region, including Tunisia, will be negatively affected by the war in Ukraine since they continue to depend on food imports, especially wheat and corn. So stated by World Bank Vice President for the Middle East and North Africa. He added that the current prices should interrupt the supply chain for wheat and other foodstuffs, resulting in the rise of food prices and internal production costs within agriculture. The World Bank official predicts lower revenue, especially for small farmers, which will negatively impact their means of subsistence and mostly affect those who are among the poorest and the most vulnerable who depend on agriculture for their income. All right, that's it on Business Incorporated. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.